Hello everyone, welcome to this video on MEG-01 British Poetry. Block number 1, Orientation for the Study of Poetry and Medieval Poet Chaucer. This block is your gateway to understanding how to read, enjoy, analyze poetry. And it also introduces you to Geoffrey Chaucer, one of the earliest and greatest poet in English literature. In simple words, this block does two main things. It teaches you how to study poetry, its language from the interpretation. It introduces you to Chaucer, the father of the English poetry, and his major works like the Canterbury Tales. Let's explore each unit one by one in an easy story-like way. So without any further wait, let's get started with the unit number 1, from the elevation of portraits towards the explications of poem. This unit helps you move from simply describing what you see or read in a poem or interpreting it deeply. When you first see a portrait, you might just describe what's visible, colors, face, clothes. But a poet's portrait in a word needs deeper attention. We look for symbols, tone, mood, and emotions behind those words. This word explications means to unfold or explain clearly. So, explications of a poem means carefully reading each line, word, and image to discover the poet's hidden meaning. The unit teaches you how to move from surface reading to a deep reading, how to look for theme, rhythm, imaginary, and symbols, how every poem can be seen as a painting in words expressing both outer appearance in an inner feeling. For example, when you read "A thing of beauty is a joy forever," you don't just see beauty, you feel the timeless joy it gives. So, unit number 1 builds your reading foundation, how to look beyond words and find meaning. Now, let's introduce unit number 2, a prelude to the study of poetry. This unit is like a warm-up session for poetry lovers. It answers the big questions like, what exactly is poetry? Poetry is not just rhyme or rhythm, it's emotion shaped into words. This unit says poetry appeals to our heart and imagination. It combines thought and feeling. Poets don't just describe, they transform reality through imagination. Aristotle once said poetry is more philosophical than history because it deals with universal truths rather than facts. So you will also learn how poetry gives pleasure, offers wisdom, and creates a world of beauty and rhythm. It also introduces different poetic forms like sonnet, ode, elegy, ballad, etc., and shows how each has a different way of expressing human emotions. So, unit number 2 prepares your mindset for poetry. It tells you how to approach, feel, and appreciate poems before studying them deeply. Now move to the unit number 3, the age of Chaucer. Now we travel back to the 14th century England, the time of Geoffrey Chaucer. The age of Chaucer was a period of massive change. The Black Death had reduced the population. The church had great influence, but people were starting to question its power. The middle class was rising and English was slowly replacing Latin and French as a language of literature. Chaucer lived in a time when people from all walks of life, peasants, knights, merchants, priests, were shaping a new society. This unit explains the historical and social background of Chaucer's age, how his poetry reflects the real life of common people, how the English language became richer and more expensive. In short, the age of Chaucer is like a bridge from a medieval world to the modern human world, and Chaucer stands right at the center of this change. Now quickly move to the unit number 4 of block number 1 of MEG-01. Chaucer's Poetry, a Journal Survey. Here we understand what makes Chaucer poetry special. Chaucer is often called the father of English poetry. Why? Because before him, the English literature was dominated by Latin and French, but Chaucer wrote in Middle English, the language of the people. His poetry is known for realism. He wrote about real people, not just kings or heroes, humor and irony. He could make readers laugh while teaching more lessons. Humanism. His characters are full of life with virtues, vices, dreams, and flaws. His major work includes the Book of the Duchess, the House of Fame, Troilus of Cresside, the Canterbury Tales. Each poem reflects human experience, love, faith, greed, and wisdom in a lively and relatable way. Unit number 4 help you see Chaucer as a storyteller, philosopher, and social critic, all in one. Now move to the unit number 5, the journal prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Now comes Chaucer's masterpiece, the Canterbury Tales. It begins with a group of pilgrims traveling from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine and St. Thomas Becket. Each pilgrim tells you a story during the journey, and that's how the tales begin. The journal prologue introduces us to the about 30 characters: the knight, the wife of Bath, the pardoner, the monk, the clerk, and more. Each represents a different sections of medieval society. What makes it special? Chaucer creates portraits with deep realism. Every pilgrim's behavior and story reflects human nature, pride, greed, love, and faith. It's not just a religion journey but a journey through human life. Through humor, satire, and empathy, Chaucer paints a full picture of 14th century England. Now, in the unit number 6 and 7, a study of unknown Preests' tale. First and second. This tale is one of the most famous stories from the Canterbury tales. It's a fable about the roaster named Chaucer and his wife, Prologue. At first glance, it's a simple animal story, but Chaucer uses it to explore big ideas like pride, dreams, and power of a language. In the plot summary, Chaucer is a proud roaster, dreams of being attacked by a fox. His wife mocks him, saying dreams have no meaning, but later, a fox tricks him with a flattery and catches him, just as a dream and warned. Chaucer escapes in the end, but only after learning a lesson about vanity. Now, let's talk about themes and lessons. Don't let flattery control your mind. Even animals can reflect human pride and foolishness. Chaucer mixes humor with wisdom, turning a simple fable into a rich moral story. These two units Chaucer's genius. How he could take a light story and make it deeply meaningful. In the conclusion, what Block 1 teaches you? The entire Block 1 is like a foundation course in poetry. Here's what it builds for you. How to read the interpreted poetry, how poetry grows from its age and culture, how one poet Chaucer can change literature forever. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.